Alex. Good afternoon. Um, so today I would like to ask you the 10 most important questions and answers to become Dutch and how to adapt to a new culture, language, job and people. Um, let's start with introduction. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Tsarina, and I am the owner of Tsarina Translations and Language School. I am an officially sworn translator of Russian to Dutch and a teacher of English, Russian, and Spanish. I also teach Dutch as a second language. Originally, I'm a maritime engineer, and I now teach maritime English, business English with a focus on interview preparation. And my hobbies are playing tennis and acting in the movies. I also make subtitles for the movies for foreign film festivals. Would you like to introduce you? Just maybe to tell us who are you, where are you from, and what do you do?
Thank you for inviting me. My name is Balashov. Originally, I'm from Belarus. I'm a lawyer. I came approximately 20 something, 25 years ago to the Netherlands to study the European Union law, and I had a career in a huge international law firm practicing European Union law. And since 3 years, I'm a yoga instructor and a coach, and focus of my coaching is the strengths. And yeah, all this year I've been living in the Netherlands, so since I came here as a student and now working as a coach.
Thank you. And what made you choose to start your life in the Netherlands?
um, by accident, so it was not specifically decision to stay here, to live here. It's just as I studied, and after I graduated, I have graduated from European Union Law Master Program from Leiden University. I found the job.
Interesting. And how do you fit in the new country and culture?
The Netherlands is quite open culture, so it gives space to live everyone.
Wise answer. Tell me about the biggest challenge you have had to deal with in the Netherlands, and how did you adapt to that challenge?
The biggest challenge was for me to understand when the Dutch people ask the same question again and again. It's not just because they don't understand your language, just because they don't get the answer from first time. So when you hear it again and again, don't worry. It's not that you have said something wrong. It's just they didn't get it rightly from the first time. So when I learn it, my life become much more easy.
Okay. And can you tell me about a specific thing you had never done before?
In the Netherlands,
Yes. Maybe you smoke some marijuana, or I don't
no,
know.
I have never done before Bikram yoga, so I've learned how to do it, how to practice it here. The rest was, yeah, horseback riding, so it's also, I experienced it here. I never had experience like this. No, I don't smoke marijuana. I'm not interested in hard drugs. I'm practicing yoga for 20 years, so I live very healthy lifestyle. So that is a little bit outside of scope of my interest.
Yeah, very nice. You're leading a healthy life. Describe a situation in which you embrace the Netherlands, the language and the people. That was a major departure from the old way of how you did things in your old country.
Um, there is a very famous Dutch celebration, St. Nicholas arrival. and it's completely out of it belongs only to this culture, to the Netherlands. And when I first time went to meet this wonderful person on a white horse, surrounded by his supporters, his assistants, I realized that yes, indeed, I have embraced the Netherlands as my stake country for this period of my life. So that was quite a breakthrough for me. Till that moment, I was feeling myself international living in this country.
Great. Describe a situation in which you were embarrassed.
Oh yeah, it's not really embarrassment, but it was my famous joke. So when Dutch people were asking where I'm from, and I was saying it's from Belarus or Vitrushland in Dutch, and they were asking where is that. So I was asking, do you know Liechtenstein? There's a tiny state in middle of nowhere in Europe. They say yeah. So and then
Wow.
somehow they connected Belarus with Liechtenstein. So they say, oh, you're some close to the Liechtenstein. I say no. So I was feeling quite embarrassed that Dutch people didn't know at that time so much about my home country. And then I was playing quite a tough game on them.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective of where Belarus is situated. And describe a time when you felt stressed or overwhelmed.
Today or last week or last year,
No,
20
in,
years.
in your life in your life in the Netherlands. And how did you handle it?
Oh yeah, that was one period. It happened approximately 10 years ago. There was a very interesting politician came into prominence. Her name was Nina Verdronk, and she were very much on a march against immigrants, especially illegal immigrants, and that was a period when there were lots of discussion about Normen and Waarden, so-called norms and values of Dutch society. And then suddenly I realized what kind of interesting country I'm living in. I've been watching the TV shows where they were sharing what they think about themselves, about the world around them. So it was pretty much eye opener, and I was just like, oh my goodness, all my ideas, all my illusions, or kind of light touch approach to the Netherlands. So that was pretty difficult period when I had to readjust myself and accept the Netherlands as they are, not what I think I want them to be. So that was quite an interesting period of my life, yes, indeed.
Yeah, interesting. And recall a time when you felt disconnected with people or culture. So it was maybe one, but maybe you have another example.
From people of which country? My own.
No, I recall a time when you felt disconnected with people or culture here in the Netherlands.
Disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Almost impossible. The culture is so open here, so I don't know how to feel disconnected from it, and that was never the case for me.
Great answer. And what's the biggest misconception the natives have about you, and why do they think that?
The biggest misconception was that White Russia or Vitrusland, Belarus, is a part of Russia. So, and I always need to explain that I'm not from Russia. I'm Russian, but I'm not from Russia. So it also was quite complicated. But when I say, if a Dutch person born in Belgium, is he Dutch or Belgium? Yeah, that's kind of helps them to understand that you can be Russian from Belarus, which is not part of Russia.
Okay, good explanation. Tell me about a time when you were communicated with the Dutch and they did not understand you. And what did you do?
I switched to English. It is quite regular. The country has like 20 or something dialects, and they don't understand each other. So sometimes people from north they can understand people from south. So I am pretty okay when the people don't understand me. So let's say either my Dutch is not what you're familiar with, or and you wanna try to understand me, or we just switch to English and continue our conversation in most acceptable for both of us ways.
Okay, great. And tell me about one of your favorite experiences in the Netherlands.
I think visiting Keukenhof, this flower park or Garden of Europe, is the most positive experience I have had, and I'm looking forward for the next one because it's an annual event. So that's what I really like about this country. There's so much flowers,
Yeah, I love
so
Keukenhof.
many flowers. Yeah,
Yeah, you get a lot of energy from all these flower fields.
yeah.
Yeah. And describe the best Dutch partner or Dutch friend you have dealt with, and what part of their character appealed to you.
You know, it's quite interesting question with respect to generations. I have had quite a positive contact with all generation of Dutch people. They're much more open-hearted and they demonstrate much more love and kindness than, let's say, new generation or younger people. So that's what is attracting me more to people, senior people, so to say.
Okay, yeah, it's a good choice. Yeah. And do you make friends here in the Netherlands? And who are your friends?
No, I don't.
No?
No,
And where are your friends from?
from my childhood, from
Your
my student
childhood.
time. Yeah,
But you don't have them here.
no, they're still all over the world. We're still in touch. We live in different countries, different continents, but I haven't made any Dutch friend.
And how come?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Hmm. And that it's difficult to have Dutch friends, or it just you don't want it to do or to try.
It depends on definition of friendship. So what is in my culture understood as a friendship or to have a friend is very different from the Netherlands. So, like in Dutch view, in my neighborhood, all the neighbors are friends, but for me, it's just neighbors. So that's when you use definition friend, a friend as in Dutch way, there are lots of friends. But if you use definition how I see it from my cultural perspective, I don't have any Dutch friends here.
And what's your definition of friend?
I think it will take another hour to talk about it.
Oh, okay. When we are going over to the next question, tell me about something you really miss from your own culture.
What I miss from my own culture is spontaneity. So in the Netherlands, everything needs to be prepared and planned.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah. And describe a time when you applied for a job and how did it go?
Mm. It was a long time ago and it was very well. So I sent my CV, motivation letter, I had an interview, but it was in English and it was international law firm. So I think the same procedure would be in any other place in the world.
And how was your interview?
Straightforward.
You could answer all the questions. Was not difficult.
No, it was just straightforward. So they knew who I am and why I'm there, and so it was mostly to get to know a little bit more culture of the company and the task I will be doing
Okay, it's great. And do you ever feel judged
constantly.
constantly? Why?
Of course, because it's the nature of people. They judge each other.
Oh, it's a very deep answer.
I'm a coach, so I'm talking to people, and the main challenge people are having quite regularly, and one of the more major sources of stress is then they perceive or think about being judged. So, and then it's a question what is to be judged. So, I see that you are dressed in white today, so that's a judgment, right? And I might think, oh, white is good for you or not good for you. It's against the judgment. So that's the situation how people experience the world. So they need to judge to go ahead. But some people are afraid of being judged, and for me, it's really interesting to understand why and help them not to be afraid of being judged, because that's you breathe, you've been judged, you go to sleep. It's the same process. Not the same process, but the same level of it should be the same level of stress.
Hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting question for me too. And I would like to ask you also some questions about the learning a new language. Firstly, you need to learn Dutch when you come here, and although the most of the Dutch speak English, you will feel closer to them and they to you if you can speak their language, Dutch. It's not only because of the language. Language is a mirror of the human mind, of the human society, and of the culture. So why do you think is it so important to learn a new language quickly?
I think it's important to learn new language good, not quickly, because when you think that you're learning it quickly, you get some one side of the language, so you must understand better. You may express yourself at least in some way. But there are some languages, some cultures where people easily accept you talking incorrectly or with mistakes, like for instance in Russian or Italian. But structure of Dutch language does not allow this. So if you miss something, if you misspell something, if you mispronounce something, you will get a blank eye from the Dutch neighbor, from the Dutch partner or speaking partner, and that will be quite discouraging. So it's better to learn slow, but very, very good. So when you speak 100 words, but speak them very correctly. If you can make 10 sentences, it's better than make 100 sentences with mistakes. It's better to make 10 sentences, but very correct. Dutch language does not allow you to make mistakes, and even slight change in pronunciation can ruin the whole conversation, because for some reason Dutch people are not easily adapting to wrong, or how to say it, not fully correct their own language. So my advice: don't rush, do it slowly.
Thank you for your advice. And what are the three things that are most important to you in how to learn a new language?
Consistency, consistency, and consistency. So
So you mean every day to learn something, or
yeah, every second day, once per week, doesn't matter what consistency means for you. It's more important that you constantly make progress. So every day, every hour, every week, but non-stop. When you stop, you will lose what you have gained so far.
it's a very good point, I agree. Tell me about a time when you have been satisfied or energized and productive at learning, and what were you doing?
Normally, that's my state of my mind. So I'm usually, when I'm learning, I'm energized. Like yesterday, I was studying something, like another language, and I was very energized and very optimistic. So that's usually what's happening when I'm learning something.
You're learning Italian, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And how would you like to study Dutch?
How would I like to
To
study this?
study Dutch? What's your dream? How would you like to study Dutch? What will be the good way for you to study any language? You have an experience with Italian too.
This- how would it be? So I've been studying Dutch with using very different approaches, very different methods, and different schools. And what I realized that when you learn a language without how would I say it? It's very easy when somebody is explaining Dutch in Dutch for the teacher. So they say, okay, you need to get into the Dutch language, and then that's why you have to be constantly listening to the Dutch. So from the very first, I don't know, from the second language, or from the second class in Dutch language, I was forced to listen and understand everything in Dutch. So that's create a situation when you need to understand explanation in Dutch about Dutch language. So that's very easy for Dutch language teachers, so because they don't need to try and understand how your brain works, how is your cultural background plays a role, what is structure of your native, just push on you the materials once I think it's how it should be. And very often I have seen and experienced myself that students may miss the explanation because it was given in foreign language, in Dutch language, which they don't understand very well. And because of that missed explanations, they need to either study much harder, more, or feel inadequate. So that's what I see as a negative way of learning Dutch, but what is a positive way? I think it's your positive way, it's your personal way. So find what works best with you, audio, video, conversation, books, films, and then just go with this. So that's how I'm learning Italian. I find my way and going with this. But what I'm not want to have again with any other learning language that immediately get explanation about language in that language.
So you would prefer to have an explanation in your own language
Yes.
first, and then maybe go
And
over to Dutch after 1 year or something like that.
it happened with Italian. Firstly, I studied Italian with support of English, so there was an Italian teacher who explained me stuff in English, and then I switched to Russian, and I noticed that there are much easier to understand Italian language, the phenomenon of language, the use of language, when I base my knowledge by my study on Russian language. It's much more closer to Russian language than to Anglo-Saxon group of Saxon group of languages, American or German. So uh, German family of languages. So that saved me lots of energy, and I express myself more authentically because I understand better.
Yes, it's a great point. I notice this by my students too, that I can explain the whole Dutch grammar in 10 lessons because they can understand. So I'm explaining from Russian grammar to the Dutch, and it's going better. So they understand it better. And then, of course, after the lessons, it's better to train with natives, just conversational Dutch. But I think it's if you are going to translate the text, Dutch text into Russian, you will understand the grammar and syntaxes better if I can explain it to you in Russian language. You need to have also the dictionaries, Russian Dutch and Dutch Russian, not English Dutch and Dutch English. So it will help you to learn and to study more intensive and to learn better. And how do you find the right course if you want to learn a language?
Yeah, I would usually go for recommendations. So I would just be talking to my people whom I know and ask what was their experience.
You don't go on
Then I
internet?
yeah, then I probably would ask for a tryout lesson to see if it works, if I have personal
Mm.
connection to the teacher, and then yeah, that would be my way.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
what I did with it. I'm just learning Italian. For me, Italian much more yeah, most active. So that's much easier to answer question when I think about Italian. So that's how I did it.
yeah, okay. Because it's important to find a good teacher and the course method that suits you, because there are people who are visual or audio visual, and each type requires a different course. And
Indeed.
on internet, there are a lot of courses, video courses with teacher, live courses in a classroom or in classroom, and video courses with a teacher. And there are thousands of providers on internet. So yeah, how do you know which course is right for you?
You don't know until you try it.
Yeah, exactly. So then you need this try out lesson, and then you can decide if you're going to follow this course. Yeah. And how do you determine what amount of time is reasonable for learning a new language?
Usually, if you do something that you like, you don't care about time. If you have to language, that probably would be most relevant. Again, it's very much depends on your ability to memorize. So if you have a very good memory, you can learn something like vocabulary 10 times or 5 times faster than average person. So there is no specific answer for this question. It's, I'm still even learning even Russian because sometimes I'm like, oh, that's beautiful, that's new expressions, that's new meaning of the word, or a new different way of expressing emotions. So if it's with my native language, I'm still learning it. So I don't know how to answer this question. As much as it's necessary for you.
Yeah, you are learning during all your life, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And how much do you value your own time?
It very much depends on the moment when you ask it. Now it's very precious, but sometimes I have like very little value for my time, so it's fluctuated. So.
But what do you mean now it's very precious?
Because now we have only 30 minutes to answer all your questions, so
Okay.
every second it has like
Every
specific way.
second counts.
If you would sit somewhere on the beach next to your house with a glass of wine, so we'll probably have seen the time very differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Time is the most precious asset, right? And um, so the learning of new language, it should be easy and fun, actually. Um, and how do you feel about learning a new language online via Zoom, Skype, or Teams?
Good. I'm positive about it.
Yeah, it's okay for you.
Absolutely.
You're good with technique.
Yes, but like doing this interview, there is no big brainer. So instead of talking to me an interview where you can be teaching me.
Yeah, it's easy when you know how to do it. And what's the biggest challenge when it comes to learning a new language?
Um, start thinking in the way the natives are thinking. So somehow we see the world differently, and these differences are represented in our language, just like structure of grammar, so structure of sentences. For me, it was very difficult to understand why Dutch sentence needs to be structured in a specific order. But I understood that the Dutch people see the world this way. When I understood it, it became much easier and to talk to them and to use Dutch language correctly. So the same with Italian or English or British.
Hmm.
Yeah. So when you understand that they see a world differently, and we look at the same picture but see very different details of this picture, you understand, so that you don't need to be Russian speaking Italian, you need to be Italian learning it speaking Italian. So then it's difficult, but because cultural prejudice and cultural background is also are playing quite a significant role. But possible, possible.
Yeah, learning a new language is like going into other people's minds and culture and the way of thinking. So you're right. And I would like also to ask you some unexpected, like unconventional questions. What's the most interesting thing about you that's not mentioned before? Tell me something unique about you.
Oh yeah, it's very easy question. Everything is unique. There's nobody
Everything is unique.
nobody like me in this whole universe. From color of my eyes till way my brain works, everything is so neat.
Hmm, that's a good answer. So then I say to you, enjoy your journey with languages and new culture and new people, and just go at your pace and take little steps. Take your time, learn the material, be with it, and you will have rest of your life to speak. So just enjoy it for now. And if you know somebody struggling with the language, I will be happy to help, um, because mm, my extra value is that I give lessons in your native language, Russian or Spanish or English, and that will make easier for you and will deliver quicker results. So enjoy your journey and go for it. I believe in you, and I be wishing you much more success. Thanks a lot for this, for your time and this interview.
Yeah, welcome, Serena. So the same goes for you. If your clients will start feeling too stressed about learning a language, I can help them.
So it's a good match. It's a win-win.
Well,
Okay, bye bye.
bye bye.